On this episode, we dive into the subject of ADHD with a coach who is an expert not only because of his training, but because he lives with ADHD himself. My guest is Michael, and what once felt like something he had to work with has now become his superpower. Of course, the path to passion and purpose isn't always a straight line, and Michael had to overcome many personal obstacles to reach the blessings that he enjoys today. We also talk about tattoos, something I almost never talk about, and in particular, his tattoo that reads, "Be curious." Let's jump in. All right, so hang on. You have a newborn son
Newborn son,
just this year, right?
January 1st.
January 1st.
Yep.
Kicking it off with a bang.
Yeah. Yeah.
So tell me about being a dad.
Oh man. It's wild. It's wild for sure. I had actually gotten to the point when I met my wife back in 2020 to where I was like, yeah, I'm okay like not having kids.
Mhm.
And now and then when I remember seeing my wife with a child and I was like, oh man. I was like, no. And this is my second marriage. I was like, no, I was like, I want a kid. And it took so long to get here that finally seeing him has been like surreal. Yeah.
How old are you?
43.
Okay, so
Yeah,
we're
we're 44 this year.
oh,
Yeah.
we have so many similarities.
Yeah.
Divorced,
Uh-huh.
kid at 44, 43, 44, you said, right?
Yeah, 43, yeah.
Yeah. And so, man, it feels like a different life, doesn't it?
Dude. So we're still like my wife and I will like walk around the house and be like we have a fucking kid. You know, like what's that thing doing over there? You
Right.
know? Which it's surreal and it's wild and we still sort of like I think I even remember like being in the hospital too and seeing him and like I don't know if you remember this when you had your daughter, but like they don't even look real at first. You're like, oh, that's a doll.
Yeah.
And then they move and you're like, oh, like, no. Like now I'm responsible for this, this other human being.
My daughter had to go in the NICU.
Oh, really?
So it was really surreal because it was like, oh crap, like we have a baby and oh crap, things might not be okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it cleared up quickly.
Good.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's just scary, like it's your one job. Like now that when you have a kid, no matter what happens, like all else, like you protect that child,
Right.
And then you don't feel like you're in control,
Well,
Um,
I'll tell her things like, hey, we're gonna go this place and I'm gonna need you to just stay in the truck.
Uh-huh.
And she'll go, but Daddy, you can trust me.
Yeah.
And I'll go, oh, I know I can trust you.
Uh-huh.
I can't trust everybody else.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that from a place like a negative place, but I mean it from a place of like, there is real danger in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to make sure that you're safe.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So you were cool just not having kids.
Yeah. I was definitely at that point.
Like you come to the realization, I'm not gonna have kids and it's cool. Like this life is good too.
Yeah. Yeah.
But how much better is this life?
I mean, I'm in it right now, 10 weeks in.
That is true.
So, it's getting that tangibility back now, like where he's smiling at you and reacting to things and you kind of play music, and he's still at the very beginning stages of that. Like, that's cool, and as a dad right now, I'm getting a little more tangible, like feedback, versus like that, like first 6-8 weeks. And not that I didn't feel like I wasn't connecting with him. Like those like newborn cuddles, just, him laying on my chest was like amazing. Right. And now it's funny. Now I miss that. I mean, there's something new that like I enjoy, but you miss that because it's like, oh, and now he's like fussy.
Yeah.
When he does that.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, oh man, this is like so easy. I could just like calm down. But it's wild, like looking and just every single day, like how they like that today and tomorrow, different kid.
Yeah.
Right. Totally different. But it's so cool. It's so cool. Yeah.
I think it would have been cool to have a son, but having my daughter like changed me in a different way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you ever think about that? Like, if you'd had a daughter?
Yeah. We thought for sure we were having a girl. We had all these girls' names.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we had all these girls' names and not many boys'
Okay,
names.
so did y'all not find out ahead of time?
No, so we did. So we actually, my wife and I originally, so I'm adopted. My mother was adopted. My sister was adopted. And when my wife and I first met, she also was just like, no, her biggest fear in the world was like birthing a child. So she's like, I never had the desire to birth a child. But then again, she also never had the thought of like maybe not having a child or not a child being part of her life. And so we actually went the adoption route first. So we're doing that for a while, it's a wild experience doing that. And then eventually, after presenting to probably like 10 or 12 cases and not getting any, my wife finally was just like, you know what? She's like, screw this. She's like, we went back to the fertility doctor, and he's like, no, you guys can do this. And she came back and she's like, let's do it. She's like, let's just go through the IVF. And you know, just in our sense of just with our age, my wife's also just turned 43 as well in January. We weren't just like, we didn't want to mess around with it, right? We don't have time on our side to spend the next, year or 2 years, trying. So we were able to, throughout the whole process, we had two viable, good embryos, and you could find out the sex like that day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So you do all this like genetic testing, which you choose to kind of beforehand. And we're like, and then once they do a transfer, you find out within 9 days whether it took. And at that point, you're actually like 4 or 5 weeks pregnant.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Because it's from the time of like your last period.
Yeah, right.
And I was like, no, I don't want to know yet. And it's wild. Like you're at the doctor's office and they have the paperwork and they're like, wait, did you want to know? We're like, no. Like they just flip that piece of paper. And then like, that's where like you can find out the gender for both those embryos. And my wife's like, no. And I think I missed that one appointment for some reason, but, and I was like, no, I don't want to know until we know it took. So we have another one, and my wife's like, this was not going inside of me. Right.
Right.
If maybe seriously, I was like, shit, I get that. But I think she'll, I don't know. We don't know what the sex of that baby is, but I'm just, right now, just trying to think about having another child right now. Ooh, just day by day.
It's kind of, it's a little bit like getting a tattoo. When the day of, when you get the tattoo, you're like, why am I doing this again? Like, he's on my sternum. Like, well, what is this? And then after a while, you look at it, and it's cool, and it heals. Yeah. And you're like, man, I should get another one.
Yeah. Dude, I literally just used my buddy out in Dallas. He's got 2, 4 and 2 maybe. And I texted him, I was like, bro, I'm like, why would anybody ever do this again?
I know.
And he's like, I think there's actually like a psychological, thing where like by the time you go to do it again, you forget about all those hard things. And I was like, oh, and I use the same reference, like analogy, like getting a tattoo. Like you get it and you're like, oh, cool. And then you go like get the next one. And you just totally forget like what the first one actually felt like. And then the second they start like, and you're like, oh shit, this fucking sucks.
When did you get adopted? How old were you?
I was like 3 months old.
Okay. So the process was like, I mean, you didn't know you were adopted till later. Like, when did you find out you were adopted?
It's a good question. I guess my parents told me young. They never like hit it, but I can't like tell you where.
Yeah, just somewhere along the way they told you.
Yeah, but like I remember. I don't know why I remember it so vividly. I think I was in like 1st or 2nd grade, and like I'll be on the playground, and I was like, yeah, this is gonna sound so messed up. I was like, no, like I was a slave, and then my parents got me, right? Like no, no idea what I'm talking about, right?
Right.
And maybe that's something you learn about in school at the time. I don't know, whatever it was. But I know. I just remember that as you asked me about that. So I guess I knew like first, second grade. But I don't remember specifically like being told.
What was when y'all were going through the adoption process?
Mhm.
What was that like?
It's
Was it difficult?
really difficult. Yeah, it's really
So then
difficult.
make it difficult. Is it made difficult? Like, tell me your experience.
So, um, the way the process works now is like you have to get it's called a home study. They send social workers out to your house. You provide all this paperwork from your background. And it was even more difficult for me because I had something where, I was young and stupid and I got into like a fight outside of a bar, right? So I had these two like misdemeanors hanging on my record. Now this is following me 20 years later,
Man,
right? Where it's like I had to get all this additional paperwork and reach out. I'm from New York. I had to reach out to New York and like get all these different things. And then it was like there was something that came back where um, I was like, oh my God, we're not gonna be able to do this because of me. And I was like, I almost lost it. And but it turns out then we were able to do it, but we had to get this other thing done. I forget what it was called, a risk evaluation. And that was a whole nother process we had to go through. So it took us like 4 or 5 months to even get approved. We're typically going to do it pretty quicker if you're, on top of the paperwork and things like that. And then from there, we were working with this consulting kind of agency, and they referred us to other different agencies in kind of different states. And it's like, okay, which one's going to be the best fit? So now, and this is how and it works different in every state too. I had friends trying to adopt in New York, and it's like, I don't know what it was, but their process is completely different than ours. It was
really?
crazy. So you pay some of these different agencies and you kind of go on the waiting list. You do this thing called it's like a book of you and your wife, your partner, whoever it is. And in that book, like there's pictures of you guys, stories of you guys, picture of pets, whatever it might be, pictures of your home. And that's what gets presented to like an expecting mother. And that's literally what they're picking you from.
Wow, it's like
Yeah.
a brochure.
Yes. Yes. It's like a brochure, yeah, like a house brochure, but like more in detail.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you present and they're like, and it's crazy. They give you these things where it's like, hey, you have 24 hours. We need to know in the next 12 hours whether you want to present to this case. And all you're getting is like a fact sheet. And sometimes you don't even get that. Sometimes it's just like, hey, we got a call like, hey, baby's being born tomorrow. Mother gave her right to North Carolina. Can you be there?
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're like, well, there's other factors now too, is back when I was adopted, there weren't like kind of crazy drugs. Now there's like meth and fentanyl and all these other different things where like that's a lot of these people, they haven't had any prenatal care, right? Or the baby's going to be addicted to opioids when they're born, right? Or addicted to meth, like
Or have medical issues.
yeah, or potential medical issues, and you don't know. You're just kind of rolling the dice. And that's like that was one of the really hardest pieces I think for myself, for especially my wife, right? So going into where I kind of go into more like a leap of faith, right? Because we learned a lot of those things aren't like the end of the world,
Right.
right? But you do want to see some like prenatal care,
Right.
yeah. But yeah, it's wild to just going through that to where it caused friction between my wife and I. I process different things different than she did, right? I'm very black and white. She's, more of like a gut person, right? There's no right or wrong. But I think that's eventually where it got to the point where it was just like, I remember we actually, you know what it was? It was, I can even tell you the day. It was like July 1st of 2022. We're like, you know what? We're getting away. Went to Mexico, get off the plane, get a call. Hey, baby's being born in 2 weeks. Do you want? And we're just like, oh my God. And, like my wife and I were trying to discuss it. And I was like, why wouldn't we present? Right. There was no kind of drugs in the background, anything like that. Finally, I remember we jumped on a call with our couples therapist. I had a glass of tequila in my hand. It was like 11 a.m. in the morning or whatever. And, and my wife's just like, screw it. She's like, let's go do IVF. Let's go have a baby.
Really?
Yeah. And we put everything on hold with the adoption stuff then. And then I come back actually, and my first workout back after we got back on the 4th or the 3rd. The 4th was a Monday, I think. The 5th, during a workout, ruptured my Achilles.
Oh, wait.
Yeah, for the 2nd time. Different Achilles. And that kind of gave us an excuse to actually put a lot of this stuff on hold as well with the adoption agencies. And yeah, and then we were like, all right, like got the shots. Shots were in our refrigerator. It was crazy. Yeah, having all that stuff.
What changed her mind?
I think having the out of it's sort of not being in her control, and also too, sometimes you see pictures of these people, and not to come off like judgmental or anything, but you're like, well, if this person, a lot of the cases now are open adoptions, so do I want to let this person as now potentially part of my life for the rest of my life?
Yeah, there's other decisions that come along with that adoption.
Yep. Where I won't think as far ahead. I'm like, nah, screw it, it won't be that bad, you know? Yeah. And my wife's like, dude, you know my ADHD and like I can be impulsive, right? Where she's like, hey, we can't really be impulsive with this decision. I was like, okay, honey. I mean, I get it. Yeah.
Tell me, if you don't mind.
No.
Oh, and man, what an amazing process and story to get all the way to here, right?
Yeah. Well, and another sort of layer to this, and I'll probably get emotional talking about this, but like we had all the shots in our fridge. We're waiting, right? Rupture my Achilles is like July 5th or 6th. Have surgery, I think it was 10 days later. And we're just waiting for her next period. September comes around. All of a sudden, like, we're talking. I'm in this freaking walking boot now for like 10 or like 12 weeks, like whatever it is. And she comes downstairs and she's like, hey, she's like, I was talking about something else. I was excited about something. I'm like, what? She's like, shut up for a second. She's like, I'm pregnant. I'm like, the fuck? I'm like, what are you talking about? I was like, what do you mean you're pregnant? Like, and I think we had sex once. You know, Neil's being in the boot and, you know, pink, whatever. It's like, yeah, you're not really like in the mood. Yeah. And like we had sex once and I was like, what? I'm like, we've tried this before. No baby, right? like all of a sudden, baby, right? We ended up losing the baby after 6 or 7 weeks. And then we had to wait. So this process kind of went from like starting like 2021 to now we couldn't even start. We had to wait 2 or 3 months after the miscarriage to, let me do this, it's 2023. 2023 is a miscarriage. So then, yeah, the beginning of 2024 to even start going through the
process.
The process of doing the shots and stuff like that. So it was January of 2024. And then we finally did the transfer on April 21st of 2024.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a long time getting there.
Yeah. My girlfriend also had a miscarriage before.
Sorry to hear that, man.
Yeah. I mean, well, one, it was obviously harder on her than it was on me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And at the same time, like, it put us in a different space. It made, in a weird way, it made us closer. And I think that maybe that closeness is what allowed us to have my daughter in a weird way. Like, took the pressure, you know, like, to get it to take, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because she's older too. I don't know. I don't know if that had an impact on her or not, but you know, I'm kind of like everything happens for a reason in a sense of like your path.
Yeah.
And as bad as this might sound, it's almost like it made us better. That accident made us better. Or at least maybe that's the way I choose to look at it, I guess.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I think, I can definitely relate. I think we definitely got closer. But also, you know, it's interesting too, nobody talks about, I think this is just a frustrating thing in general, which I found, is that nobody talks about like having miscarriages when so many people have had them.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you know, my wife's like, did I do something wrong?
Yeah.
Right? And then
a lot of self-blame.
Self-blame, yeah. And then as a partner, right, you can just be supportive. But since nobody else talks about it as like from the guy standpoint, right, it is both of you kind of going through it, right? But then you're also hopeless and like, well, I can't do it. Like all you want to do is fix this person's pain, right? And you can't.
In a weird way, the guy suffers kind of two painful events because there's the loss of this potential child, but then you also have to watch your partner go through this pain.
Yeah.
And it's tough, you know?
Yeah. It's real tough. Yeah. and where I'm just like, all right, cool, like, and I bury it and just kind of keep on going, right? Like, doesn't work that way with women.
Well, I think
Yeah,
I think that you know, guys are very logical, and we just go like
yeah,
1 + 1 = 2, and this happened, so this happened, so this happened.
yep.
You know what I mean?
What's
But
the next step?
I think there's a space to go, man, can I just be in this moment with my partner and just be here, supportive,
Yeah,
right? Do we have to move on? I know what the next step is,
yeah,
but do we have to move on right now, or could I just be with her right
yeah,
now? You know what I mean? And I think that's where the guy girl thing kind of misses sometimes. Because guys are like, well, the answer's obvious,
right.
but she's kind of like, well, but can we just appreciate what happened, or like,
Hmm.
can we sit here for a second and just be here for a minute with it? I'm like, okay, cool, yeah,
Yeah,
I can do that.
yeah,
I can be supportive in that way.
yeah, yeah.
Um, okay, I want you to I want you to go back because I'm real interested in when you said that something you did 20 years ago
Uh-huh.
was now going to ruin the present.
Yeah.
What describe kind of that process and what that felt like?
Like in that moment when I got that call that
Yeah,
like
like when
we weren't.
when you get the call to realize, man, something stupid I did
Yeah.
20 years ago. Did you say it was 20 years ago?
God, it was 2004.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Some kind of random stupid thing I did
Hmm.
is now creeping back up on my doorstep.
Yeah.
What did that feel like?
Oh man. Felt hopeless.
Yeah.
Like another thing, I'll get emotional, like kind of like talking about because it was it hit me. I was like, this is my fault. Now we can't do this. That's immediately what, like, I got that phone call. It's like, yep, nope, you got like denied or like whatever it was. Um, yeah, no, it was.
Did you have that in the back of your mind that could be a possibility, or had you forgotten about it? Like you didn't even think it was on the table,
No, I mean, it was so long ago,
right?
right? Like, and that's the thing too, where when I was 22, 23, I don't know, something like that, and you're a totally different person,
Yeah.
right? Like, like you, you're just not the same human. And
Hopefully,
well, hopefully, right?
hopefully you've
Hopefully.
matured,
Yes,
right?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, and you know, like in my work with like being an ADHD coach, right? Like it's like your executive functions, which it's sort of like your kind of part of your decision making brain, form last. So like for a neurotypical person, they're not fully formed till 25, and for a neurodiverse person, it's like 30 plus. Like hence, you can't rent a car until you're 25.
Right.
Okay, the insurance companies already know you're way more liable. You're not as mature enough. So something that happened even way before that time, right, is gonna haunt me 20 years later.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like because and it came up in other things in my life too, to where it's like it just caused grief where I didn't need it. Where I was like, man, I was like, if I'd known that, I would have fought harder at the time to like get it expunged or something different, a different outcome, right?
So
to
it's
feel
just
guilty.
like, can you tell me like what happened?
It was just I was outside of a bar. We were all drinking all day long.
No, I meant like, what
Oh,
are the other things that were messing up?
oh, after I'd already kind of started building my real estate career in New York, what was it? Oh, I was on the list to be a fireman, White Plains fireman,
Hmm.
and it came up in my background check, and of course I was upfront about it beforehand, right? And then I was like number 10 on the list of like 200, and then they hired the first 5 guys. The list lasted for 2 years. Then they were back around to the list again, and they were about to hire me, and they were like, "Hey, we didn't have your letter in the thing about the thing whatever," and I rewrote it. I couldn't find the old copy I had, and I think I put one misdemeanor or something in there. And they're like, "Well, you lied. You're off the
Wow.
list." Yeah, which it's a blessing, right?
Yeah.
Because that would have I wouldn't be probably in Austin now. Like so it's you're talking about before, right? Like I'm always things happen for a reason,
Yeah.
right? Because that would have been pretty hard to leave. I was making real good money in my real estate career, and then also the solid gig with the fire department, right? that would be pretty hard to move from New York at that point.
Has there been enough time for you to see the blessing in this last event, the one where it almost messed up the adoption? Was there a blessing in there?
Um,
Do you know what I mean by that?
yeah, like tell me more.
So, like sometimes when these really bad things happen, at the moment, in maybe in the next couple of weeks, couple of months, it feels like, oh man, that was a close one,
Uh-huh.
or like, but then something else happens, and you go, oh man, that overall that was a blessing. The reason that all played out,
Yeah.
and you were saying like with the letter and that you found out, and it turned out to be a blessing because it allowed you to do this other stuff. I
Uh-huh.
was wondering if a blessing came out of that last moment.
Like finding out that maybe we can't do it because of me.
Yeah.
I don't know if a blessing came out of that.
Well, maybe it's not here yet,
Or
is what I'm saying too.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
God, I don't know if I could take a positive experience actually out of that, to be honest with you, you know? And I'm a pretty positive guy, but I don't know if I could take a positive experience or a blessing from that single moment. Definitely other things in it for sure, you know, blessings.
Do you find that it motivates you in a different way?
Yeah, well, and I realized this a while ago, right? Because with that kind of hanging around is that like I'm more motivated to continue like my
Good journey.
yeah, and also and not go and try and work for somebody else,
Right.
right? Like I'm, you know, I have my business and trying to get into public speaking space and things like that. It's like, nah, like I work for myself. If someone wants to come and, you know, do a background check on me, like they're not doing that in these other things, right?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I'm not, that's not my world.
Right.
And it never will be. So it's like, okay, these things are, there's no plan B, right? I got to make these other things work.
Tell me about Mike before you read the book on ADHD,
Uh-huh.
and then Mike after you read the book on ADHD.
Like back in 2017, like when I,
So what were you like before you read the book? Before you started working on your ADHD and
Uh-huh.
becoming a coach, all that stuff. What were
Yeah.
you like back then?
oh God.
I mean, we've already kind of touched on it a little bit. We were getting in bar fights.
Yeah. Well, that was even way. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that was even way, way, way. Um, um, I was not as self-aware as I am now.
Say more, meaning what?
Aware of my emotions, aware of why I did certain things. I was not.
Was life moving fast?
Yeah, life was moving fast. Yeah,
In a different way than it's probably moving fast right now with your kid. Right?
yeah, totally.
It's a
Yeah.
different type of fast, right?
Yeah, different type of fast. No, it wasn't bad. It was great. I mean, I was living a great life. You know, I was living the single life. I was, you know, enjoying life. Sort of, kind of just doing what I want, traveling when I wanted to, things like that. And then after finding out, it was just, yeah, I think it was just, and I was also in the midst of a career transition as well, like kind of in that period too.
Mm-hmm.
So it helped give me guidance to, you know, finding like my vocation and like what I was passionate about.
Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Your therapist gave you the book,
Yes, he.
and then you put it down for like 3 years. You didn't even look at
It
it.
was might even longer. Immediately, impulsively, I went out. He told me about it, and like I bought it.
Of
right?
course.
And
You
this
always
is
go
even-
when your therapist tells you to buy the book.
Yeah.
You always go buy the book.
Yeah, and this is a guy who just prescribed my medication, right? Like I'd see him 15 minutes every, you know, I don't know, month or 3 months, whatever it is. And I don't even remember the conversation we had when he recommended it, to be honest with you. But then I was like, oh yeah, cool, yeah, bought it, right? And then I guess something impressive for someone with ADHD, I think I made it through like 3 moves, and I still had the book, right? Like never got lost. Yeah, and then I just picked it up and
What made? Do you remember what made you pick it up?
yeah. So, 2017 when I was in, I left this tech company that I was working at, and I was considering maybe just going back and doing a little bit of real estate stuff at the time. What else was I was thinking of doing? I had another friend who reached out to me. It was probably like May, June, July, with a job at like a stone and like granite company doing like wholesale stuff. And they brought me in for an interview, and it seemed like a dream job. I was like, okay, it was like I could partially be in the office, but I was doing more like outside sales. I was gonna have, it was like a 6-figure job, and I was like, oh man, I was like, this is perfect, right? And one for the first interview with the company, that was great. One for the second interview, like the next day, the CEO happened to be in town, and he asked me a question. He asked, how do you define success for yourself professionally and personally in 10 years? And dude, I looked at him like a deer in headlights. I was 36 at the time, I think. And I was like, in 10 years, I was like, bro, I'm like, it was a Friday at like 2 o'clock. And I was like, well, 5:15, I was like, I'm gonna get this workout in, and then by like 7:30, I'm gonna be having drinks with my boys, at Bar Chi and downtown Austin, and and then I'll just probably chase and tail, like that was the extent of how far in advance I thought. I was like, not when I'm 46 years old. And then I started asking some of my friends, I'm like, hey man, how do you define success for yourself in 10 years, personally, professionally? And they all had answers. And I was like, what is wrong with me, right? That I don't have an answer for this, right? I was like, something's wrong with me. And then I started kind of, and I wasn't a big reader at the time, but I started reading a lot more of like personal growth stuff at the time. And I was like, I'm going to find this answer for me. Like, who am I? Like who is this person going to be down the road? And I think that's what led me to like pick the book up.
You didn't get that job, right?
I did not get that job.
That was a blessing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Got you to that book.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so
For sure.
you read the book, or
Mhm.
is the story you go about 30 pages deep, and
Yeah.
you have an emotional
Yeah.
reaction?
Yeah, I was like in tears, man, because I was diagnosed with ADHD when I was young, but my only knowledge of it until 36, and I guess I was about to turn 30, so almost 37, whatever it was like I took medication, I was hyperactive, and I didn't pay attention. And there's just so much more to it than that, where the book did a good job, and if I remember correctly, like they talk about, and they follow sort of like through the book 5 different people at different stages of their like diagnosis and different ages. And each time I read it, I was like, oh my God, I was like, this is me, this was me, this will be me again. When that hit hard, because once again, my knowledge is so small of ADHD, and something that I've been struggling with my whole entire life. So having those other examples, and I was like, oh, I had no idea that this was part of my diagnosis.
When man, it must be tough to be doing that with your whole life. And it must be eye opening too, to like come to hear it and you're like, oh wow, this world's like way different, right?
Yeah. Well, you start looking at things through a different lens.
100%. Tell me how ADHD hindered you before.
Before I started like learning more about it.
Before you started working on it and becoming a coach.
Yeah.
How did ADHD hold you back?
How did it hold me back? Feeling like there were times I felt like a fraud.
Meaning what?
Like, there are areas where I feel like successful, like I was a top producing agent in like real estate, but then I was like, well, I should be doing more. And I would always be like, oh, I should do more. I should do this. I should be doing this.
More is better.
Right. Well, and not only that, just certain things where it's like, oh, I should be, and back then there wasn't really like social media like there is now, right? Like, but how that would look like today would have been like, oh, I should be doing more posts on social media,
right.
Like things like that, right? Where like with my business, I grew my business, I don't do shit on social media really, right? Like it's just I'm okay with that.
Well, that's not where you find your business.
Right, exactly,
yeah.
Exactly.
ADHD people are swiping right past you. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
I'm joking.
Yeah. But what was the question again?
I asked you how it hindered you.
Oh,
but you could also tell me, like, because people kind of, I feel like you tell me, maybe ADHD gets kind of a bad rap,
Hmm.
but there has to be positives to it, having it too, right?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
if you can't think of any negatives, tell me all the positives.
Yeah, no, and so I think also too a lot of the negatives, impulsivity is a big trait of ADHD. I'm very impulsive. Um, but it doesn't have to be a bad thing.
Right.
Okay. If you if you're aware of it, and that's too what I speak to a lot of my clients about is like it's coaching. I look at it as like 85% is clarity. And the other piece is right too, like is like helping them build a better self-awareness, to get a different perspective on things. So some of the things they might be doing, which they might be hard on themselves about, or things that even I'm hard on myself about, I'm like, well, you know what? Maybe that's actually just not for me, right? That shift in mindset's kind of the most powerful things of, well, no, it's okay to do it this way, right? So, because and I had found a lot of things throughout my life, which like organizational wise, and almost being sometimes at the point of like anal about things, which helped me survive,
Right.
you know? So I wasn't like a basket case all the time, which some people are, because right, they're just like just being reactive all the time. Where I mean, for sure there are times where I'm reactive, but now I can kind of step back and be like, hey, like where was that like emotion coming from, right?
Right.
Or where was this coming from? Um, and even creativity is a big thing of a big plus of ADHD. Um, Being spontaneous, right? I think that's a big plus from the ADHD. Um, Impulsivity is granted, if you're doing things, and whether it's shopping or going on vacation, whatever, and like it's going to put you in a bunch of debt, and think for, yeah, I mean, might have a cool story behind it, but right, if you're like trying to dig yourself out of that hole for a long time, okay, maybe not the best thing.
Uh, okay. So we'll get to this in a
Yeah.
second. Okay. So tell me, because I have other questions. Tell
Mhm.
me about Mike. Now that you've been working on yourself in this other way, right? And you became a coach. Tell me, tell me how you are now with your ADHD.
Uh-huh.
Like, um, how does it work for you now? Like, how is it now? Is it like a lot like what you just described? Is there like a lot of like how do you make it work for you now? Is what I should ask.
Um, I think the biggest thing is just having self awareness around it,
Mhm.
right? Um, Something I think misunderstood with ADHD is that one, it's really more about self regulation, and it's more of a thinking problem. Okay, people who call themselves procrastinators. All right, it's more about avoidance, right? So when you avoid something, the thinking might be hard behind that. Okay, so how do we make the thinking easier? And that's me as approaching as a coach, but I take these same things into my own, right? So, um, maybe a long day, right? Or and I come downstairs and I got something on top of my mind, right? I might just ask my, hey, could you just sit there and just listen, right? Don't even need you to respond. Don't need to help me solve anything, right? I got to talk through it to solve it myself. I'm asking for an accommodation from her to help solve my own problem, but I need somebody to talk to about it.
Right.
Okay. So by knowing that, I can just make that, I'm honoring how I process information. And then then I can use that as a strength. And
Right.
people can do that in the workplace too, but they don't know how to ask for it. Or they don't know what they need. It's like, no, we want you to learn this thing and do it this way. And you're like, I don't really learn great that way. Okay, cool. How do we get you to ask for it in a different way?
Was there a lot of acceptance of who you really are as a person?
As I learn more about like my ADHD,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
Like you were talking about the accommodations that you need.
Yeah,
Like you know about yourself that, hey, I need to work through this. I need someone to talk through this. Hey, person, can you do this for me?
yeah,
Like you know that about yourself.
yeah,
Instead of just like blaring down the stairs, blah, blah, blah,
yeah,
word
yeah,
vomiting, and then expecting the reaction that you want, which you might not even get because they don't even know why you're telling them that.
right,
You're not at clarifying. So like the more awareness you have around who you are as a person, the things that you are and need,
yeah,
the easier it is to ask and accept when people even give you feedback on it.
Yeah,
Like
for sure.
You don't find it as insulting, I would think, right?
For sure. Yeah, because
yeah,
yeah, well, yeah, because you're and that's when people come to the coaching. A lot of times they don't know
who they
what
are.
helps, right?
Oh,
Or what
sorry.
to ask, yeah, or who they are, or what helps, or what to ask for,
Right,
because they don't know how they optimally work.
right,
So they might. And that's the thing too with ADHD, right? Like you can't fix it. You're also not something that's broken, but like it being a disorder or an impairment, okay, we can accommodate for it. Okay, we're not going to fix it, but how just we accommodate for it? And this doesn't have to be these huge things that we do. Okay, it could be very simple things like, hey, I need to talk through this, right? Or um, you know, I don't know. People struggle with cleaning their homes. Okay, cleaning the kitchen, whatever it might be. Okay, well, what would it be like just to have a friend come over and hang out for a little bit, right? They don't have to help, right? But you guys are just sitting there bullshitting,
right,
right? Like, us doing this talk, like, and you're like, man, my house is messy, right? Like,
right.
and we just wore microphones, just walked around the house. Okay, that's a strategy to clean your house. That causes you a lot less thinking, a lot less effort.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
In the sense of, I mean, I say this all. You have to find what works for you,
Yeah.
and what works for you doesn't necessarily work for everybody else.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it could, but it could not.
Mhm.
And ultimately, if it works for you and it's not hurting you or it's not hurting anybody else, it's probably a pretty good thing.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, you know what I mean? And you have to have realistic expectations about the things that you need to be okay from others,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Well, and managing expectations, I feel like, is like 80% of life.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
with someone else's expectations, your own expectations.
well, everything you ask of another person is a request.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yeah.
So they don't have to always grant your requests.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's how you approach it in speaking from a point of need, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure, like, if, like, example, you go to your wife and you're speaking from a point of need of, I need to get this out, and you speak to that and she feels that, then she's like, oh, yeah, of course, I'll listen.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're speaking to a point of need, which she understands because she has needs.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Good communication.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of times, I think a lot of times people don't ask
Yes.
for the proper combinations in the proper way, or they demand that you give them accommodations. And it's you tell me, when you're asking for something from someone else to help you
Yeah.
in that way, the way you approach this is from a way of like, hey, can you help me please, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Not like I have to have this from you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's a big difference.
Well, also too, when you ask for help, which is hard, it can be very hard. That's a big step. But when you ask for help, also you come with a solution, right? Like that's very powerful.
Yeah.
Versus like, like, oh, hey, I need help. Like, I just need to talk this out with you, or hey, could you just hang out there, right? And I might just shoot some ideas off at you, right? Like that's a different way. And when you communicate that to that person, you're setting the expectation, okay? And then also too, like most people are happy to do so,
Of course.
like
Especially the people that care about you.
right, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like the other day, my buddy just called me, or I called him actually. I was walking my kiddo, and this is the other day. I don't know about you when you first had your kid. Was time not relevant? Like,
No.
yeah, like I said something. We have a postpartum doula who's fantastic, helping us like kind of parents, right? And I was like, yeah, 4 months ago, I was like, my kid's like 8 weeks old.
Yeah.
But like it doesn't. I don't. It's
Yeah,
weird.
Time for that first year is just like weird,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's like the part where you said like you forget you have a kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you know what I mean? Like you're just like, oh, we have a kid,
Yeah.
because you're not used to another. It's only been like 8 weeks, or it's only been like 10 months, or whatever it is. You're not
Yeah.
used to somebody else being there
Yeah.
for that whole first year.
Yeah. Well, and now too, my wife and I were so independent, like doing certain things. She'd have a hair appointment. I'm going to get a haircut.
But somebody's got to be with the baby.
Right. Right. Well, no, and it's like we didn't really share schedules before because there wasn't really a need to. But now it's like, oh, if I have a haircut appointment, then I have to go throw it on her schedule.
Yeah.
Right. And she's got a hair, like she puts on my schedule. So it's like we don't like overlap or whatever it is.
Right. So you were talking to a buddy.
Yeah. Oh, so yeah. So it was yesterday. So I took a walk because it was her day to, or not. Yeah, it was Wednesday. It was Wednesday. So it's her day. She goes to Pilates at noon on Wednesdays, where I usually train at noon. But like, no, Wednesday's her day. The other days, she goes in the morning, whatever.
You got to double team it right now.
Right.
There's no.
Exactly. So I took the dog and the baby for a walk. Called my buddy in New York, and we were talking, and I was like, and I guess I was partially looking for validation too. And I'm aware of that sometimes when I have this conversation. This guy's like a brother to me. He bought my dad's old house in New York after my dad passed. And I was telling him about this keynote speaking thing I'm doing, and then like, as well as, or trying to do, in this company called Impact11, which I joined just recently, which I was just telling you before. I'm going to this boot camp on Sunday for, 3 days or something. And then also this other, or how I kind of picture things. I was like, you know what? Ultimately, I was like, I think I want to do a talk a week, right? Like, even if it's, even with a little one, right? If I'm out of town for 36 hours, not the end of the world, right? I can also work less in other areas. And then I also like the idea of doing some like workshops and stuff like that. I have another friend who's doing a lot with like emotional regulations right now and policing and like leadership and stuff. So him and I have been talking about partnering on some things. And I just like unloaded. He's like, "Hey, how are things?" I was like, "Oh, blah, blah, blah," right?" Like, and I knew, and I was like, "Hey, thanks for just letting me go." He's like, "No, of course, man." And he's like, "Yeah, I think that's like a really good plan, like kind of what you got going." I never set the expectation. He just asked, and I had the thing top of mind.
Well, and sometimes you have friends like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have friends like that, but I still, not saying that you did anything wrong,
Yeah.
but I still try to go to them and set an expectation, even though I know they'll do it automatically.
Uh-huh.
I just go like, "Hey, you're one of the few people that actually does this for me.
Yeah.
That gives me that space."
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, I'm their space.
Uh-huh.
Right? So the few people that are my space that I get to speak to or that hear my thoughts and all that stuff, I'm so grateful for.
Yeah.
Right? But I just go ahead and, even with them, I'm going like, "Hey, man, it's going to be one of those where I'm just going to be running my mouth the whole time."
Yeah, talking about myself.
Yeah, is that cool? And then I usually like, "That's cool." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I try, and it's not like I don't give them space back at
Yeah.
times. It's just when I do it, I feel like there's only a few people I want to do it with.
Uh-huh.
And unfortunately, for those selected few,
Yeah.
they get an earful. But I always just tell them how grateful I am and thank you and that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
This final segment is brought to you by HeyJustBe.com. I believe that achieving balance in the mental, physical, and metaphysical aspects of your purpose through learning, serving, and creating can transform your life into one you truly enjoy living. Want to learn more? Visit www.heyjustbe.com. So how I wrap this shindig up is I usually ask people, what do you do to just be the best version of yourself so you can be good for everybody else? But I've asked you to do something really specific for me, meaning I'm assuming all your clients have ADHD, right?
Yeah.
Since you're an ADHD coach, right?
Occasionally I work with people who don't.
Right.
Do
you sometimes find out they do?
Yeah. Well,
I was just wondering if there's a natural attraction there that they didn't know about.
Yeah, or they might be like undiagnosed and just assume they have it. And I know we're trying to wrap things up here, but this is one of the things I'm actually talking about, like with one of my coaches from Impact11.
No, go with it.
About the keynote speaking is we're trying to find, like, I have all this life experience. I have maybe thousands, hundreds of things that maybe I could talk about, but I have no idea what that's going to look like. And I'm in the very beginning stage of figuring out, hey, what do I want to talk about? And one of the things that's gives me credibility or difference than most other people is being an ADHD coach. And one of the things we found is that, like, no, not everybody has ADHD, although I do think it's underdiagnosed, although some people might think it's overdiagnosed, okay? Because I also think it's missed a lot. But one of the things is that, like, in this world where, not that I guess, yes, we are being pulled in all these different directions, but a lot of people have trouble focusing because of all the distractions. Even if they're not diagnosed with ADHD, there's pieces where it kind of sort of is ADHD.
So, like, am I understanding you correct that you think that a lot of people are impacted by the symptoms of what would be ADHD, but maybe it's just they're on devices too much, or there's too much interaction. If you put them like in the woods, they wouldn't be as wound up.
Yeah. You know,
Because I feel like I feel
and-
like a lot of the things you describe, like that impacts me. Like I
Yeah.
feel like I have some of those.
Let's
things.
get to So well, no, and these are things too, just simple like productivity things where like they were like, hey, we're my coach Mirjana who I've been talking to is like, hey, you can pull this out. This is like a real problem with like companies and stuff where it comes to productivity and focus and things like that, where it's like, you know, everyone's like, okay, they're emails, but then you have focus work to do, but then you have Slack, right? And you have all these different things where it's like you're never getting to kind of what you're doing, and then you're just hopping around to all these different things, right? Or you know, people said, well, I'm going to do this from 9 to 10, and this from 10 to 11, this from this, and then all of a sudden you do like half of one thing, right? And you got to the end of the day, you're like, well, I didn't like what I actually do. And a big issue I see is people also don't factor in like, well, there's boot up time. You have to get in the flow of doing something. And then also like you have to transition into something else. So, oh, I sat down at 9, but when's the last time you sat down at 9, you actually started doing that thing at 9? Okay. You know, granted, I mean, if you're getting on a meeting or something like that where there's other people, yeah, you're on the meeting at 9. But you sat down to do something, you're like, no, it might be 9:05, 9:10, 9:15. You start doing it. Now you work on it for 15, 20 minutes. Ding, something goes off, right? Your phone, your email, whatever it is. Then you jump to that thing. Now all of a sudden you're like, well, what was I working on again? And then you try to get back to that thing. That's effortful to get back into that, right? And now all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's 9:50. I got another meeting, or I got, you know, whatever. I got to wrap this up. Then you got to transition to that new task, okay? And then people are kind of like always like behind the 8 ball, right? All of a sudden it's like, oh my God, like I need to do half of the things I said I was going to do today.
Yeah.
Right. Versus like, okay, can we protect that time more? Maybe a little bit. And this even goes for people who's managers or whatever, who they're like, I just had actually a client, we talked about this. Her manager thought he was being really efficient, or her boss or whatever it was. And having these meetings, hey, we might have this meeting, we might not. Keep an eye on your Slack or your Google Teams or whatever it was, right? And then she's like, well, she's trying to get in the flow of work, but then she's got her one eye the whole time on this other thing, waiting to see if this meeting's ever going to happen. And I was super proud of her because, and we didn't even get to a coaching topic that day, right? Or the week before, whatever it was, but she had a different perspective on it. And she was thinking of it. And eventually she told her boss, she's like, hey, listen, she's like, I appreciate what you're trying to do with this, but I know the way I feel, and my assistant and some other people, is that we're kind of hanging around, so we never really get in the flow of our work, so we're actually less productive by waiting, versus you just being like, hey, no, every Tuesday at 10, we're going to have these meetings. Cool. Awesome. Now I'm expecting that meeting on Tuesdays at 10.
Yeah.
Right? Versus I'm like kind of hanging in the balance.
So it sounds like kind of with your clients, what you do is you bring how they, you know, just be the best versions.
Yeah.
You help them bring awareness.
Yep.
And then once you help them bring that awareness, you help them to be positive advocates for themselves and even others, right? And channeling a lot of what goes on inside of you into that, I would assume, right?
Well, yeah, and also too, you want to do things you naturally do well. Okay, like what comes naturally to you. You're always going to go to that, right? I'm a basketball player. Okay, naturally, I'm going to shoot with my right hand. I'm a righty. Okay, I got to think about shooting with my left hand. So, like, does that mean I should always shoot with my left hand? Now, if I'm going to be a professional basketball player, yeah, right? Like, I want to make that more automatic so it's like, you know, easier. But regardless, if you just flip the switch and I jump out of bed and you're throwing me a basketball and like, shoot it real quick at the hoop, I'm shooting my right hand. Okay. So like understanding our strengths and having that self-awareness, a lot of people don't have that awareness of like what their strengths actually are or what they look like. We're trying to do too much other shit that just other people are doing and kind of like sort of following it if it might work for them or whatever it is.
Well, I think a lot of time, you know, we don't like being bad at stuff.
Yeah.
But we don't put enough focus on like just what we're good at. Like why are we even worried? Why are we even worried about that stuff? Why are you even worried about the bad stuff?
Yeah.
That's just not you.
Yeah.
This is who you are.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I would assume in a lot of like awareness tools, like in working with a client, it's a lot of like, yeah, okay, yeah, you do suck at this. But we don't have to do it that way. And also we could do it this way. And also this speaks to your strength when you do it this way.
Yep. Yes.
And
Yeah.
and I would think too, correct me if I'm wrong, some of that might look odd and different and weird,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of self like self insecurity about like, oh, if I do this thing different than everybody else, even though this is what works for me,
Yeah.
that it's weird or I shouldn't do it or I need something special or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like again, back if it's not harming you or anybody else, don't worry about it. Just
Right.
do what works best for you, right?
Yes. Yeah. Well, and people also come in too like, oh, I suck at this, 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 and this. I want to work on all these things. And I was like,
Well, what about things you're good at?
right, right. Because and if things you're good at, let's say you're a 7 out of a 10, okay, we can get you to an 8 or 9, right? Like, and then you're naturally going to go to that thing because you're better at it that way. But if you're like a 3, and then it's almost like trying to fix like a problem with a problem, right? Or a problem with a weakness, where like I'm a 3, but I want to get to a 7. I'm like, that sounds really effortful for me, right? Or that sounds effortful to me. Versus like get a little better at the strength, and maybe that'll bring this thing that we're weak at or whatever from a 3 to a 5. It's good enough. We're going to compensate another way.
A lot of times, if you get stronger in your good areas, those other areas actually come up too.
Yeah.
Is that what you're kind of saying, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, but it's like if you cut both my arms off, I don't know how good of a basketball player you expect me to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And some people are just coming with less tools in that way, but that doesn't mean you don't have tools.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you don't have great tools.
Uh-huh.
And you never know, those great tools might help these things that you want more.
Yeah.
But I mean, a lot of times we're focused on what we suck at and not what we're good at.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the first things I asked. I'm like, oh, I suck at organization. I've never been able to be this. I'm like, tell me about the time you were.
Right.
Because the ADHD brain is kind of geared to dwell on the negative. So it's like, I've always sucked at this. I've never had, a organized desk or whatever it is, right? Never a clean closet, never a clean garage, whatever. It's like, tell me about the time you were able to do it. And you start telling me or tell me about any time. I go back to when you were as far back as you can remember, right? Eventually there's a time I'm like, okay, cool. What'll let you do it then?
Right.
And people don't connect that. And it's like, then you start talking through. I'm like, well, why can't you just do that now? Well, I don't know. Never thought about it.
What's the best thing that you do to help with your ADHD? What's the one thing that, like, I want to say the one thing you can't live without, but what's something that really just helps you be the best person?
It probably has to do with self-awareness. And granted, there's times where I have zero self-awareness and I can take a step back and pause and be like, okay, yeah, I'm not really being aware here. I think also maybe honoring sort of just like my strengths in the way I do things.
Yeah.
Of anything maybe, right? Because I know I didn't have a successful real estate career by accident, right? I did something right.
Right.
Yes, we get lucky sometimes, right? But if you look at all high performers or anything like that, there was some kind of like, yes, they might have had some, of course, we all need luck at some point, but a lot of it's by design, right? Doing the things that we know like worked for us.
Mm-hmm.
So by I think doing the things that work for me and are geared towards my strengths, it's probably, and having that awareness has been probably the biggest thing for helping me manage my ADHD.
Was there a level of like acceptance inside of that too? Or no? Had you already like have you always accepted kind of who you are with ADHD, or is that a more recent thing?
I'd say more recent over the past 3 or 4 years.
Like after like get diving into the book and diving into the coaching.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, because you didn't, because I didn't know any.
You're aware, but you like, but you didn't. There was no like, I guess maybe work behind it in this way, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because now, if I'm like, and one of my wife calls it giving yourself grace. I call it being kind to myself.
Sure.
Where I'm like, I might start to beat myself up about something, and there's really nothing more powerful than one of the coaches talked about, and they had this whole thing in the coaching school that I went to, the ADD Coaching Academy, where it's like pausing, the power of the pause. I might start to beat myself up, and I'm going to pause now before I get so, where it's like there's like, not that there's no turning back, right? But like before all my energy's spent going that negative side, of like, hey, what's really going on here?
Yeah.
Right. I'm having to do a lot of this now where like this keynote speaking thing, it's really overwhelming. This boot camp, I know I'm going to be drinking out of a fire hose, but I'm like, okay, I know I need to talk to as many people as possible, right? Reach out to as many people as possible, set up separate calls to hear about their experiences. I'm big on not asking for advice, okay? Because then you feel pressure to do the thing that way. But I'm all so big on asking for people's experiences. Then you could take a little of this. Oh, that sounds like, yep, I would do that. Yep, yep, okay, yep, okay. Then you now all of a sudden you got a framework for something.
Right.
Right? You've talked to 10 people, 5 people, whatever it is, and you're like, oh, I liked a little of what each one of these people said. Right? Now that's how you can make it your way.
Man, you said power of the pause, and that made me come all the way back around to we were talking about like maybe being with your wife and like just wanting to solve the problem, and she wanted, or like you had the miscarriage, and she just kind of needed to be that's kind of what I was saying. It's the power of the pause in that moment, right? Of just being there in that moment with your partner and the whole thing, and trying not to necessarily move it forward. Yeah.
My nature, well, I told you, right? We go naturally to like what we do naturally is to put my freaking head down.
Yeah, and go.
Power forward.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, what's next? All right, cool. Right. But that's when you're single, not so much of a problem, I guess.
Yeah.
Right. Depends. But yes, when you have, an amazing partner like my wife, right? Like you're like, okay, I got to take a step back and like check myself too.
Because it makes you a good partner. It makes you a better partner. It makes you a better person.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Powerful.
Yeah.
Okay, before we get out of here, I'm just going to ask. So you have "Be Curious" tattooed on your arm. I never ask about people's tattoos, by the way. But okay, so why did you get the "Be Curious"?
I was kind of living in Indonesia at the time, and this is where I found coaching, or ADHD coaching, and I was doing a lot of like personal growth books, and it was just something where it was just like not enough people are curious. Like we tend to lose our curiosity, right? Like when we're young, little kids talk out loud. Okay, you have a 4-year-old daughter, right? Mm-hmm. Probably just talks out loud
all the time,
right? Okay, cool.
She doesn't shut up.
Yeah, and there's points where you're like, can you? And parents do this, right? Just because for our own freaking sanity. Okay, you're like, can you have your talk inside, right? Where, and this happens right too, like even in school. When kids go to school, no, you don't talk out loud, right? You get in trouble for talking out loud,
right?
But what if that's how that person needs to process information? Typically, that helps us process information more. So eventually, we get to a point where it's like, no, just, and this is why I'm not a huge fan of how schools generally is, because it doesn't teach you how to like. It's just here are the facts. So, okay, anyone can remember facts and I kind of repeat them back, right? Like, but you lose that idea of like being curious about.
It doesn't give you a space to ask questions.
Exactly,
a lot of times.
Exactly. And the second you start telling your kid, oh, don't, stop, hey, can you talk to your inside voice, right? Or use your like, internal, right? Then the kids stop processing those things and being curious outside.
My daughter asks so many questions.
Yeah.
I answer every single one though.
Which is great.
She asked me stuff that I don't even know how to answer.
Yeah.
Like she asked me the other day, she was like, what does codependent mean? And I was like, Jesus, where'd you hear that word?
I gotta look it up.
I was like, I think I know, but I don't, or she'll be like, what does it mean to sacrifice? And I'm like, wow, that's some deep shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Man, well, okay. So I ask everybody to give me a hug. Do you mind giving me a hug?
Not at all.
Oh, let's push that mic out.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Come in, Brandon. Hey, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah.